Thank you for all. Thank you for all being here. Let me, as the coordinator or one of the two coordinators of the consortium, on behalf of the steering committee, welcome you all here. And we thank you all for, especially to Christine and Yus, for preparing this beautiful seminar. And also, of course, the two speakers, Ms. Mariken Blom, or is it Professor? Professor Mariken Blom and Professor Siti Aisha, welcome and thank you. Also to the moderator, Duha, the translators, and all of the essayists, of course, and of all of the others who joined the preparation for this wonderful webinar. Maybe all of you know already about the consortium, who we are, but for those who don't know yet, just a short introduction that NICMCR stands for Netherlands Indonesia Consortium for Muslim-Christian Relations, is a network of universities and civil society organizations, practitioners, academics, institutes, and also individuals, and coming from the Netherlands and Indonesia. And we gathered together to contribute to a balanced relation between the two states and religious communities and also civil society towards tolerance and justice and humanity for all, of course. Yeah. Throughout the years, we initiated 3 working groups working on the core issues of our consortium. The first one is the working group, we call it Pokja, from Kelompok Kerja, is Pokja Ecology, working on ecological issues, Pokja Education, mostly working on religious education, and the third is the Pokja Gender, this gender who organized this webinar. And we are very happy and very proud that, that they chose this topic of sexual harassment on campus. As we know, of course, the sexual harassment is getting more and more ugly. And it is not only on private environment, but also it happens in offices, at work, and even now more and more issues are coming to the fore, happening to campus, universities, the centers of education and research. So we are very happy that the Pokja Gender, the two coordinators took up this issue. And we are very happy to find Professor Mariken Blom and Professor Siti Aisha ready to contribute with their knowledge on this field. And well, we hope that it does not end here, but that this discussion and dialogue will get a follow-up in the future, also for taking further action and study on the matter. There is also one thing. Why is this Pokja held especially now? Because we are now in the week of commemoration of the 16 days against gender-biased violence in the whole world, which started at 25th of November and it will last until 10th of December. And we, of course, also with holding this conference will what is it, go for support this movement, this important movement. So thank you again, and on behalf of the consortium, we wish you an insightful seminar. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Ibu Jun. Duha. Maybe we will start now.
Okay. Um, Good afternoon. Ibu, you want to say something more?
No, thank you. I
Oh,
think
okay.
I leave
Okay.
it all to you.
Thank you. So good afternoon for those of you who live in Indonesia, who are in Indonesia, and good morning, I guess, for those of you who are in Europe. Um, I see some of my friends, but first of all, I want to address my greeting to June, and also my friends, some members from the gender working group or from NICMCR, and of course for our two speakers, Professor Marikin Bloom and Professor Siti Aisyah. Um, and this afternoon, we are about to have a very important, I guess, and a very insightful seminar, I believe. And to give you an introduction, this scarf is a scarf from our friend Bu Dewi Chandraningrum, who is also the member of this working group. And this scarf is the painting of the victims. I don't know if you can see it. So this is the faces of the victim from sexual violence in the history of Indonesia, and nowadays the awareness of this kind of if we can have use the word sexual harassment, but in many cases and in many studies we are using the term sexual violence, and also I think in regulation in Indonesia. Um, we use also sexual violence also in regulations and also in research conducted in Indonesia. So the awareness of the sexual violence happening in the private and public spaces is coming to the awareness of the students and also the members of the university and also the educational institutions in Indonesia from all the levels since the very beginning level. And this scarf is one of the tools that we are using in Indonesia to introduce the members and our students to this kind of awareness of sexual harassment and sexual violence. And this webinar is also another tool for us to deepen our knowledge and also to know more about the situation, about the state of the art of the sexual violence condition, and also the regulations being taken care of by um, the rectors and also the members of the university, the holders of the university, and also the governments. In the context of Indonesia, it is the Ministry of Education, also the Ministry of Religious Affairs, because some of the universities in Indonesia belong to the Ministry of Religious Affairs. But Professor Marikan Bloom will give us more knowledge about the situation and how to address this issue in the Netherlands. So we are kind of enhancing and also enriching our knowledge about the context in Indonesia and in the Netherlands. I don't know if we can start with Professor Aisha or Professor Marikan Bloom. Um, Probably Professor Siti Aisha. Uh, Professor Siti Aisha is the lecturer in the University State Islamic University of Alauddin in Makassar. And she has the concern and focus on gender issues, and she is also the leading person in bringing the awareness of gender issues and especially the sexual violence in the universities to the members of the university in her university. And I'll give you 20 minutes, Professor Siti Aisha. Before you start the presentation, please tell us about your activities and what are the what is it? I mean, what you were doing, what you and your friends are doing in your university to prevent this kind of issues. So please, 20 minutes, Professor Aisha.
Yep. Thank you. Good afternoon in Indonesia. I'm not sure about Professor Marikan, what time is in your country. In Indonesia, good afternoon. Maybe I prefer to use English because most of us are using English or a little bit mixed with Indonesian. Okay, thank you, Mr. Duha, if I'm not mistaken, spelling your name. He tell me about what my background, my academic background. As you know that I am a professor in Islamic studies, mostly in Hadith studies, one of the Islamic sources in Islam. And I am focusing on research and learning about gender issues related to Islamic religious studies. So this is here I am, really I am challenging more about patriarchal conspiracy being supported for sexual harassment or sexual violence in the university. So this is me, actually. Thank you so much, and I am very happy to be part of this seminar, and I'm very grateful. Thank you for Mrs. Christine for inviting me and other colleagues here. Knowing others intellectually, for me, it's more prestigious ways to enhance my knowledge and also to sharing our ideas, our commitment to prevent sexual violence or violence against women especially. I think that's all, Mr. Duha. Just introducing myself.
Yeah, and then your presentation, please, Professor.
Okay, thank you. Ibu Christine, can you help me because I'm on the way going home? First of all, I didn't, in my presentation, I just provide a short message and very strong challenges for sexual violence, the perpetrators of social violence. My title is Setting Up Safe Universities from Any Sexual Violence. For me, sexual violence in the university, especially whether religious university or private university or public university, we have to challenge that sexual violence is no way for them. Okay, next. I start my presentation with our commitment that university should be a safe place for students, lecturers, and even staff to stay and exchange their knowledge. No one exercises his or her power to commit sexual violence. As you know, in the university, especially some university in South Sulawesi, that sexual violence often committed by lecturers, by people who in charge to transfer knowledge to the students. But as we know in Indonesia, it's happened often for people who have high rank of structural position, as the case of in Palembang, if I'm not mistaken, where the dean was committed to violence against his students. And we are very happy that Indonesian law, and he has already received a punishment from the government or even from the rector So this is a good news for us, even though we understand that the number of survivors of domestic or violence against women or sexual violence is more than reporting incidents. But the point is that whether the number is increasing or decreasing is not the point at all. The point is the sexual violence in the university is there, it's happened, and it is often they are reluctant to disclose the cases. The next one, university in Indonesia, especially in the religious affairs, in the religious affairs, actually they already provided what we call there is a regulation from higher religious higher education number 5494 of 2019, where it guidelines for sexual violence prevention and response with it only within Islamic higher education in Indonesia. I am not sure whether other religious members such as Christian universities or Hindus university apply the same thing, but this is only for Islamic higher education. The regulation urged the Center for Gender and Children's Studies to provide unit concerning with sexual violence prevention and responses to disseminate and educate others, as well as to monitor its implementation. This is a powerful message from Religious Affairs of Indonesia that allows the Center for Gender and Children Studies in every Islamic higher education, about, if I'm not mistaken, 50 state Islamic university, and they should provide this center. And also the Center for Gender, as a part of the implementation of this regulation, the Center for Gender and Children's Studies has also provided what we call unit layanan terpadu, or if I translate it in Indonesia, it's about integrated service unit, where mostly students, they can file or report their sexual violence experience occurred within the campus. So if it is happened outside the campus, it's no regulation for the university or state university to handle it or to address them. To provide this center, so the rector of each university must have or must provide a regulation as well. So religious affairs provide laws, and also the rector also must provide a similar regulation to commit or to assist people or students, especially mostly students who experience sexual violence. Then we are happy because since 2 or 3 years last year, we have already this kind of integrated service unit. And also religious affairs work collaboratively with the National Commission on Violence Against Women. This is a powerful message and collaboration from the National Commission on Violence Against Women. And then there is no way to the religious affairs to avoid this strong message. They have to work collaborative with the Komnas Perempuan, we call it, while integrated service unit that's provided in every religious higher education. They often work together with NGOs, like in the case of Makassar, we work collaboratively with a law office and also other NGOs. So this is a good news. This is a part of a maybe institutional commitment to end or at least to prevent sexual violence in the campus. This has happened in the religious institution under the coordination of the religious affairs of Indonesia. Next. While in the other ministry, because I just mentioned it's religious, the Ministry of Religious Affairs, while in the Ministry of Education, Culture and Higher Education also followed the commitment that has been treated by the religious affairs, where they provide regulation number 30 of 2020, where it provide how to prevent and respond sexual violence against students or lecturers or staff within education, culture, and higher education in other the ministry. So in Indonesia, we have two ministries that have really committed to address the issue of sexual violence. But we are not sure whether the implementation of this law or regulation is fully implemented or not. This is a big question, but at least they have provided a significant contribution to prevent or to respond sexual violence in the campus. Next. So I will describe a little bit about integrated service learning or unit layanan terpadu in every level of religious higher education in Indonesia. First, their roles is the first one, they disseminate issues related to sexual violence, including educating women, especially because mostly women being survivors of the sexual violence in the campus, educating them in particular to report. They have to report their experience, sexual experience, because they have a right to speak up and to challenge perpetrators. This is the first roles that they have done so far during the last nearly 3 years. 3 years. The second one, they advocate survivors of sexual violence and refer them to the appropriate services, such as I call it law service. In Makassar, there is LBH, Lembaga Bantuan Hukum, or even gender unit in the government, in the regional government, atau we call it Pokja Gender, or even the police. Police sometimes they have a special unit to respond a report for sexual violence. We call it unit PPA, a special room for women who file or report their cases of being sexually abused. The second one, the third one, they endorse internal campus ethic. In Indonesia, especially in my university in South Sulawesi, State Alauddin State Islamic University of Makassar, we have ethic committee who have roles to examine if there is a report from the perpetrators, mostly women. So they proceed survivors report, make recommendation to the rector whether to provide punishment or any kind of disciplinary. So we have good experience in our university, where a rector really support our effort to challenge the perpetrators. And a couple of years ago, he has been fined for 4 years in the jail. Next. Next, okay. The challenge, the final ones is what the challenge or obstacles mostly experienced by women because they are mostly survivors of domestic violence. There are some challenges that they have. The first one, they are reluctant to report their cases, either to university staff or OLP, or even for personally to the lecturers like me. They are reluctant to tell the story because there are cultural and social burdens not to disclose personal experience. Being survivors of sexual violence, they don't want to disclose. Women are mostly blamed for such accidents. For them, keep silent is much better than reporting the case. This is culturally and socially challenges. The second one, sexual violence is sometimes assumed to be acceptable, normal, and biasa saja. We call it in Indonesia because it is so don't need to report to the office because this is normal. This is the big challenge for students, especially to report their cases. The last one is perpetrators often have more power to halt the cases due to their position such as lecturer or staff. So they have more power to say no or to reluctant to refuse the case. So this is mostly challenged than the why most women doesn't want to report the case. So I think that's all. Thank you so much and nice to discuss with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Siti Aisyah. This is very important and very enriching our knowledge. And one of the reason that her presentation is very important because she is bringing the issue, like the information about the situation in eastern part of Indonesia. Because in Indonesia, there is a tendency to focus on the western part of Indonesia, and the eastern part of Indonesia is often overlooked. So to have Siti Aisyah presenting the situation from Makassar, from eastern part of Indonesia, is very important for us. I like the term safe university and patriarchal conspiracies. If someone is interested in the term patriarchal conspiracies, you can raise the question on my behalf. Like I personally have the question about the patriarchal conspiracies, but one of the conspiracy, the result of the conspiracy that we are seeing and that Professor Aisha has mentioned is the cultural tendency of the victims to report sexual violence after it occurred more than once. Then they have the bravery to report. And even in many cases, silence is more preferred to them by them. And another result is the normalization of sexual violence in the community. It is, I think, in her argument, those are the results of patriarchal conspiracy, and the issue about the imbalance of the power relation between the perpetrators and the victims is very important to address and to pay attention to. Because most of the cases have this kind of issue, the victim blaming. So the community tend to blame the victim, so they have another burden to bear. And it is also very important and interesting to see that the Ministry of Religious Affairs has issued the regulation 2 years in advance compared to the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Religious Affairs issued the regulation in 2019, and the Ministry of Education issued it only in 2021. It is interesting. If someone wants to raise the question, I just give you the clue. And I'm really interested in to hear the answers about the question. And for the participants, if you have the questions, please just write it down in the chat feature, and also you can raise your hand later after we hear the presentations from Professor Mariken Blom. Professor Mariken Blom is the confidential counselor, and she's the senior confidential counselor. She's been in that position for 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. And this body called confidential counselors probably has many things in common with what Professor Aisha said, Integrated Service Unit, or ULT, in Indonesian universities. So probably we can share many activities and also many objectives, many goals, and also the challenges that you have faced. And we are very interested to listen to your presentation about the situation in the Netherlands. Professor Margaret Blom. Also 20 minutes, please.
Yes, thank you very much for being invited to this, to this meeting, to this webinar. I must say I'm a little nervous because it is my first webinar. But I'm glad, of course, I have done a lot of, given a lot of information to my university about the topic, but never in an international meeting. So a short introduction, because I work at VU University. We have more than 30,000 students, and we have about 4,800 staff workers for the students. So it is a large community. I worked there for, not yet 30 years, but I have worked there in different jobs. And the last, about 10-12 years ago, I was asked to become a confidential counselor for students. And well, I agreed. I just wanted to see what I was able to do about the subject of undesired behavior. Now I stopped this work. I am still confidential counselor for staff, and some of my colleagues are doing the job now. Also, I made some PowerPoint sheets to share with you. So I will do that now. Okay. Could you respond if you see the, yeah? Okay, thank you. So this was my short introduction. I just want to start with a short question, just for yourself. You all work at academia. Just write down for yourself or in the chat, when would you consider contacting a confidential counselor? Just what do you think of when there is a confidential counselor in your university, and why would you contact him or her? So think of it, write it down for yourself. have you ever heard of a confidential counselor? What would it help for you? Maybe for you when you were a student or when you just work now. So it's just to give you an idea of, well, what is this support about? I can tell you that the confidential counselors offer support when you visit one as a student or as a staff member. They offer a kind of safe haven, a safe place. Just you can share your thoughts, although you do not know yet what to do with it. You do not know yet, do you want to file a complaint? Are you afraid of, well, that it would grow out of your hands? So this is just a small safe place to share your thoughts. This is allowed by the executive board that we can keep the information confidential unless it is really a criminal fact. And we need to share this with the victim. The victim stays in the lead. The food policy regarding sexual harassment is quite broad. It is, you can see it as a real big web around the university campus. We have had the also the Me Too issues. There has been a lot of attention to, there was a report, Me Too Academia, about sexual harassment and abuse of power within the academic world in the Netherlands. So there is quite a lot offered for staff and students to, well, to go to discuss this. But what also very important is, and that is what I also hear from the previous speakers, is that the VU empowers everybody. You, as a staff member and as a student, you are also responsible for the safe environment. So what do you see? What do you hear? What do you do when you see something? So we are working on awareness about the issue, that we talk to each other with it. You can discuss in your team. Well, what do you think of the topic? Have you ever experienced, especially also the gender issues that can be very harsh? We also, yeah, we have different offices where you can go to ask for more information about this. So we have the diversity office, we have the, well, different kind of offices to go to ask for input. What can we do? Also, what was asked is, how do we try to put this under the attention of students? And this is quite difficult because students in our community hardly read emails or hardly read information that they that we offer them. So we of course have everything put very clearly on the website. We have made also we try to be accessible as possible. So we have also a student well-being office, which is an open space in the hall where you can go to, where students, international students are, can make you a tea or a coffee, and just you as a student, you can speak with another student. Because I'm older, I'm white, maybe I'm not the one you would go to, so it's also possible to visit a student or anyone else. Also, we saw that when the whole social security unit is rolling over a lot of trainings for staff. So we also can attend a active bystanders training. So what do you do when you see inappropriate behavior? Because it's very good to practice once, even if it's a play. Just what would you do? What would you feel when you see something and you have a very bad feeling about it? What is going on with that student? What is going on between them? What do you see? So we try to train staff in this way. We have the inappropriate behavior that is sexually, of course, is one of the really inappropriate behaviors, but there can be also other things that that are very threatening, and sometimes in combination. This is what you see. It can be something with discrimination, or people are being stalked or excluded from workshops, or because of discrimination. So it can be a lot of things, and we have the confidential counselors for all those kind of things, for that you feel not safe, that there is something is going on, someone is really bothering you with something. What I hear also from Professor Siti Aishan is the way, this is research from the trade union. They have done investigation at universities, and some of the underlying causes is what you see here. I took out some because professors can be very good at their work, but can be maybe very bad leaders, or they feel they feel they are the star, or they can do anything because they have they do a lot of work for university, and there's also a lot of pressure in work and performance by writing a lot, by pushing abuse of power, because maybe people think, I'm the star, it must be done this way, and I put pressure on you. And also this appears with the sexual harassment. So these are some of the underlying causes, and I'm sure that you know of these backgrounds, but I wanted to show them. In short, what can we do as a confidential counselor? There are three main topics of the job. one is to listen and take care of the victim. One is to help if and give information about what do you want to do with this, and to see what kind of effects it might have. And the other important part is to stay in touch with the management and to give feedback anonymized about issues that might occur. Because we are bound to regulations in university world, everything is a regulation. So you have to work through the protocol. You can never do something, well, maybe I can help the student. I go to the one who is, well, you cannot interfere. This is very important. The aims, of course, is to restore a safe setting. How can we stop the unwanted behavior? Of course, no negative consequences for the one who addresses the confidential counselor. And to try to de-escalate everything that's going on. There's also, in short, I want to, it's too much text, but we also have ombudsman. This means this is not about the behavior, but it is about when students feel that the regulations are not fairly used. So the ombudsman can investigate if, and there can also be underlying discrimination. So no, you won't get a receipt, or no, you won't, but specifically when it's about regulations, the students also can visit the ombudsman. The VU works on art of engagement, so that we all try to, to work together with respect and with courage and transparency and clear. So this is set out by all the departments. Just 3 things, and then I think my time is over. A student or staff are always welcome, even if you are not sure, should I discuss this with a confidential counselor? That was the first thing I asked you. When would you consider? It doesn't matter. If you just have, the door is always open. In general, I want to say, if you are a bystander, or if you hear or feel things that are not okay, discuss this with someone you trust and stay in connection with the victim. And also what I hear, victim blaming is such an easy way for people to, well, to say, well, so think about this when you meet someone who has had severe issues with sexual harassment. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Mariken. If I pronounce your name correctly.
Yeah.
Mariken, yeah, okay. Thank you for the information, for the presentation. It's very enriching. It's very enlightening, I will say. I will ask your forgiveness, first of all, because you've been there in that position more than 10 years, and I only mentioned 7 years, but yeah. Then you were the senior, and you were the, we learned very much from your presentation, and especially one of the most interesting things is about the definition of inappropriate conducts what it covers, what that term covers, because in Indonesia, we understand that that term covers small things, but we always use the example of catcalling, but we never use the example of stalking and gossiping, and slandering is of course included, but stalking and gossiping, it is very important. It is a small thing that we will not aware that we are doing sexual violence in a very small level, but your presentation shed light on my knowledge about that, and especially about the bystander, because the presentation usually only covers what you should do if you are a victim and what you should not do in order for you not to be the perpetrators, but we are not enoughly taught about what we should do if we are a bystander, what what we should do to the victim, what we should do to, like, what to report, many things. So your presentation on that point especially is very important. And thank you again for the presentation. And now we are entering the Q&A session. Again, for the participants, you can write down your questions in the chat room. And we already have some questions for Professor Siti Aisyah, as we wait for the questions for Professor Marikan. The first one is from Hilda Sepang. It is very general question, and it's followed by the question from Ellie that is quite specific, and probably these two questions are correlated one to another, each other. The question from Hilda is, how is the setting at university can prevent sexual harassment at university? And the question from Ali is bringing the case in which the policy makers and policyholders in the university do not show the willingness to take care of this issue, and rather they want to cover it and make it hidden for the sake of the campus. If I can read it in Indonesia, saya berterima kasih sudah ada ketentuan di kampus, namun sayang ketika kekerasan seksual dibuka, justru kampus berusaha menutupi dan minta jangan sampai kampus dipermalukan. Bagaimana kami bisa membuka ini kalau ada yang tetap menutupi? Sorry. Hal ini berakibat buruk bagi mahasiswa karena tidak terselesaikan sampai lulus dari perguruan tinggi. So I think this is one of the challenges, and it also can bring us to the question of Hilda, and also the question from Mbak Yus, and then the question from Resti, but we want to listen to Professor Aisha's answer to the first two questions. Please, Professor Aisha.
Yeah, thank you for burning question for me. I think, and thank you, Professor Marikan, for your advanced service for sexual harassment response. And I'm sure in the future, Indonesian university will go advanced as you have done so far, because we just started with the setting up regulation to respond or to prevent sexual violence. Sorry, I have to respond in Bahasa, so it's easy for us. Yang pertama, sorry, Prof. Marikan, I have to use Indonesian. So it's better the communication with us. It's important issues that we raise in the this afternoon. Ibu Hilda, pertanyaannya setting safe kampus. Paling tidak kita baru start. Kalau lomba itu baru start. Kampus di Indonesia baru start regulasi, membuat regulasi membuat kebijakan yang dari dua menteri, Menteri Agama dan Menteri Kebudayaan dan Perguruan Tinggi, bahwa kita yakin layanan-layanan kepada respon kepada korban pelecehan seksual terutama itu akan mengikuti apa yang sudah dilakukan oleh Ibu Marikan di perguruan tingginya. Kita berupaya penuh asa bahwa dengan regulasi yang sudah ada ini paling tidak membuka asa baru untuk start kita bahwa hati-hati, pelaku kekerasan seksual di kampus bukan hal yang biasa, bukan hal ini harus kita selesaikan bersama. Sekalipun terus terang itu hal yang sangat susah untuk awal-awal ini. Apalagi tadi ada pertanyaan atas nama kampus, sudah tidak usah tutup saja itu kasus. Tidak usah diteruskan karena itu akan membuat malu kampus. Tapi bagi kami di perguruan tinggi, paling tidak di UIN Alauddin tetap mengatakan hanya beberapa orang yang punya konsen dan komitmen tentang itu, kami lawan. Kami bilang tidak memalukan kampus. Justru itu membuat kampus kita aman, nyaman, dan tidak semena-mena bagi pelaku kekerasan seksual. Itu biasa dan kita tidak boleh give up dengan hal-hal seperti itu dan kita harus berhenti. Kita tidak jalan terus, suatu saat juga kita akan menuju ke terminal terakhir daripada safe place di kampus. Itu adalah tantangan kita semua. Memang ada kadang ancaman untuk mahasiswa kalau kamu sampaikan atau kadang mahasiswa dipaksa untuk hentikan kasusnya. Dia tidak akan lulus dan lain sebagainya. Memang tidak berani dan tidak mudah. Tapi dengan berbagai edukasi dan kita punya mata kuliah khusus tentang gender dan terkait dengan kekerasan seksual, KDRT dan lain sebagainya di kampus, kita punya mata kuliah itu, mata kurikulum itu, dan itu mahasiswa membuka mata mahasiswa bahwa apa yang mereka rasakan, apa yang mereka alami itu adalah salah dan itu pelanggaran HAM. Nah, itu paling tidak itu yang kita lakukan dan saya sebagai salah seorang pengajar di bagian gender di dalam Islam di perguruan tinggi UIN itu sangat sangat senang melihat perkembangan pemahaman mahasiswa, paling tidak awareness dari mahasiswa bahwa apa yang mereka alami itu adalah salah dan harus dilakukan. Dan sekarang mahasiswa mulai beramai-ramai untuk saling mendukung melaporkan. Nah ini itu tahun terakhir ini kita ada komentar-komentar mahasiswa, kalau begitu Bunda kita lakukan bersama-sama dengan lembaga kemahasiswaan. Jadi itu adalah starting point yang menurut saya adalah menjanjikan sekalipun kita masih jauh dari apa yang disampaikan oleh Ibu Prof. Marikan tadi. Pertanyaan selanjutnya adalah terkait dengan pelecehan seksual yang tidak terungkap, yaitu paling tidak saya misalnya dari 10 kasus 1 terungkap itu sangat bersyukur, sangat berterima kasih karena mereka paling tidak tercekoki otaknya bahwa ini itu kita tidak di-blame sebagai orang yang salah. Kita boleh mengungkapkan itu sekalipun sekali lagi prosedur yang dilakukan itu amat sangat jauh dari apa yang disampaikan oleh Prof. Marikan dari perguruan tinggi luar negeri. Tapi saya yakin suatu saat akan ke sana. Saya kira positif kita di hari kekerasan internasional ini, hari perempuan internasional ini, kita yakin bahwa kita suatu saat progres isu-isu gender, isu-isu kekerasan itu adalah bertahap dan itu sangat menjanjikan menurut saya. Jadi komitmen kita semua, kita ini 20 orang yang hadir di sini, kalau semuanya bersuara dan mengatakan tidak pada kekerasan seksual di kampus, saya kira kampus juga akan suatu saat akan nyaman. Saya kira itu. Thank you so much and sorry for being speaking in Indonesian, Prof. Marikan. Thank you. Saya kembalikan ya.
Terima kasih. Thank you, Professor Siti Aisyah. I forgot to mention to Professor Marikan that we have the interpretation feature here in the Zoom. So if Bu Siti Aisyah or another participant says something in Bahasa, you can use that feature to listen to the English interpretation of that. And we have a question for you, and then also to Professor Siti Aisyah again. From Mbak Yus, and it's very interesting because it is about the romantic relationship and if it is an authentic relationship. I will read it out. Is there a clause or written regulation for university employees prohibiting them from engaging in a romantic relationship with a student? If so, what is the rationale behind it? If there isn't such regulation and such a situation arises, how will the university discern if the relationship is authentic and free from coercion or power dynamics? I'm very interested to listen to your answer to this question because it might happen to me also. So as a university student, so please, Professor Malikan, and then Professor Siti.
Okay. Thank you, and a very important and good question, of course. There is a regulation, and that does not investigate the trueness or happiness of the relation. So this is not the issue. The only issue is that it is not allowed to have a relationship with someone that is dependent on your work. So if you are a student and you have a relationship with a professor and you still need to sit exams or doing your thesis or are working for her or him, then it is not allowed. And for staff, it is recommended that they are very open to starting a relationship with someone with their and to be open with their supervisor to see if there is any sorry, I forgot the word, but dependent, so that you are that there is a power thing. Of course, love is over power, but power is also over love. It is not possible, but when you are a student and you have a relationship with someone from another faculty, that's fine.
Thank you. And Professor Siti Aisyah?
Ya, makasih. Saya kira aturan untuk fall in love itu manusiawi, itu humanis. Tidak ada larangan itu. Yang dilarang itu adalah kalau terjadi tadi dependen atau intimidasi atau perlakuan yang tidak wajar kepada salah satu terutama pada perempuan. Ini tidak ada aturan bercinta, tidak, itu normal, fine. Tapi yang bermasalah ketika salah satunya keberatan dengan sikap-sikap yang kita sudah kategorisasikan seksual violence ya. Ada beberapa itu, antara lain misalnya pemaksaan. Kalau saya ya, pemaksaan untuk pertemuan kepada mahasiswa untuk dalam rangka konsultasi ke rumahnya, tapi kakinya jalan gitu ya. Jadi itu kan tidak nyaman, mahasiswa tidak nyaman dan tidak berani melapor. Tapi karena ada proses, karena temannya lainnya lapor, ya mahasiswa juga sudah mulai berani. Jadi tidak ada aturan yang melarang bercinta secara wajar, karena itu adalah manusiawi sekali. Saya kira itu tidak diisukan. Yang diisukan adalah ketika terjadi keberatan atau biasanya jadi korban adalah perempuan. Terus pertanyaan selanjutnya mungkin sekalian, karena di Makassar hampir maghrib ya, bagaimana seharusnya sikap kampus terhadap pelecehan seksual yang tidak terungkap. Nah, untuk kampus-kampus yang di daerah yang sangat society-nya, masyarakatnya sangat patriarki, maka itu perlu kita untuk mengendorse, membuka wacana dan paling tidak mengendorse mereka bahwa untuk cerita, paling tidak cerita secara informal, sekalipun sekali lagi kadang ada korban itu ya sampai tamat tidak lapor-lapor karena takut tidak ada nilainya. Nanti alumni baru dia bisa melapor karena sudah dapat nilai, sudah lulus. Nah ini kan juga menurut saya adalah apa ya, penjajahan power relasi kuasa yang tidak bagus. Tapi dengan ada upaya ULP ini, paling tidak para dosen, para staf tenaga pendidikan yang biasanya berani untuk mengirim chat-chat yang berbau narsis misalnya, itu sudah mulai sadar bahwa apa yang dia lakukan itu berbahaya. Paling tidak kesadaran itu juga bagi kita adalah suatu kesyukuran. Saya kira itu. Terima kasih. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Marikan and Professor Aisha. We're still waiting for other questions. And all the participants, you can also raise your hand, use the feature, so I can notice if you have a question. But while we're waiting for them, I think I want to share this experience I'm experiencing in my university. So I am a student in the university in Jerusalem, and one of the strategy to extend, like to pass this knowledge on to the students is that if through the registration website. So if we want to register ourselves, we need to pass some questions, and it is in the form of quiz, so it is very informal, but the content is very educative, and it is full of the information about sexual violence, including the small sexual violence that Professor Marikan has mentioned. But we cannot skip these questions, so we have to pass the question part, and then we get a score, and then from that we are informed about the body, the gender body of the university, and such a thing. So I think it is very good strategy to pass on the knowledge to all the people, and at least once they register to the university, they already have this knowledge before entering the classes. But it is only once in 4 years. I'm a PhD student, so I only registered once for 4 years. But after that, we only have regular emails about the sexual violence, about the regulation, about the sexual harassment, and such a thing. And we can easily skip those emails. So I suggested to my university, and I can share the suggestion to our friends in Indonesia as well, that we can use the same tool for the course registration. So university students will be reminded about the regulations on sexual harassment once in a semester at least, and then they cannot skip it. In order for you to register to some courses, you need to answer these questions, and then you have the knowledge at least. Even if you answer the question wrongly, but you have the knowledge, you know the right answer, and then yeah, it is a very good strategy. I just want to share it to you, to both speaker and also to all the participants. And I think we don't have any other questions, and no participants raises a hand, so I think we can conclude the webinar here. And we want to listen the concluding statement from Professor Aisha and then Professor Marikan.
Yeah, thank you. My concluding remark that we never stop to fight with perpetrators. University, we have to provide safe place for students, especially for women, because they are the future generation. We have to save women, especially, sorry, I'm not mentioning about men, but mostly victims are women, so we save them, we educate them to speak out, and later on culture and social attribution will follow our, I can call it our jihad, not jihad about the terrorism, but jihad about save women from sexual harassment or sexual violence. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate being part of this wonderful seminar. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Aisha. Professor Marikan?
Well, Professor Aisha, I can only say yes, I fully agree with your statement, and I fully agree with what you are working on, and I hope we do this as well. So thank you for having me and for meeting you.
Thank you. Thank you again. Please underline the statement of both speakers that we need to continue all this jihad, as Professor Aisha said, and we are only at the beginning, so there is a very long way to go. But we need to keep up the spirit. So thank you again, Professor Stanisha and Professor Marikan, and also for all the participants, especially the organizers of this webinar, Mbak Yus and also Kak Kristen, and also I can see many of the members of Pokja Gender and NICMCR. Please feel free to visit our website, nicmcr.org, and also especially the what is it, the rubric, I don't know, the section for gender working group, because we have very interesting agendas. I believe you are interested in our agenda, so please feel free to visit our website, and see you again in the next future in our next agenda. Thank you all.
Thank
you, Duha. Excellent moderation.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'm
Druha.
happy that your internet works.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you
For the
very
all
much.
participant and speaker, thank you very much. Can we have photos together?
Yeah. I forgot about the
But,
photo
Christine,
session.
can you
Yes, photo
off the
session.
recording, because I have a question. I don't want to be
Okay,
recorded.
okay. Okay, okay.